all,
Hunky
song and dance and
dory.
drama, very
Yeah.
Insta, fam kind of it. It's
Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to Parenthood. I'm your host, Neha Garg. On this podcast, we dive deep into real stories of parenting, full of joys, challenges, and everything in between. Whether you're here for inspiration, solidarity, or just to feel a little less alone on your parenting journey, you've come to the right place. Today's episode is extra special because we are sitting down with a powerhouse parent who's navigating an adventure of managing an ambitious career with the beautiful chaos of parenthood. My guest this week is Runam Mehta, Chief Growth Officer at Primus 360, a leading health tech company. Runam is not only a trailblazer in her field, but also a thoughtful and introspective parent to her 2017 born daughter, Anjali. Today, we are diving deep into her journey of balancing a high powered professional life, the challenges of early parenthood, and navigating it all alongside her partner Prasad. Ronam's story isn't just about surviving parenthood, it's about growing through it, facing personal struggles, and finding ways to thrive. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Runam, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to chat with you.
my absolute pleasure, Neha.
Let's start. Let's start with a little bit of fun. If you had to describe yourself in three words or phrases, what would they be?
Oh, wow. I think it would be cheerful,
Mm-hmm.
ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
and introspective, yes.
Uh-huh. We saw a little bit of introspection there.
You did right.
Yeah. Now, if you were to imagine your life as a book, what would the title of that book be? And if you could name the chapter you're currently living, what would that chapter be?
I mean, I thought about this actually because you did ask me this earlier, and honestly, I think I would just call it the chaos that is life.
Yeah.
Uh, and the current chapter, I think, well, there's a lot that's been going on recently, so it'll be along the lines of how chaos got more chaotic when you and your partner both switching careers.
Yeah.
We've got an elder with cancer at home. We've got a
Mhm.
child in elementary school. I literally have five staff supporting a family of four.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this phase would be called realizing how much support we need sometimes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your family, Runam. You've got Prasad and you've got your lovely daughter Anjali. And of course, you spoke about having someone else at home as well. So
So, my
what
father-in-law lives with
your
us.
father-in-law is with you. So what's your family like? Tell us about each one of them, maybe.
Right. So let me start with my partner because I think he is the most important part of my life.
Yeah.
My old CEO, my ex CEO, once said to me that the most important career decision women make is the man they marry.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I chose to marry Prasad, besides the fact that I was in love with him, was because I believed that he wanted more for me than even I did
Uh-huh.
from a career
Yeah.
lens,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of man I wanted in my life, someone who'd kind of support me and push me
Yeah.
to achieve more and not get insecure,
Yeah.
when he sees me succeed. And I think I've made a bang on career decision from that perspective. So he's a marketeer. He
Yeah.
has been in real estate his whole career, which has been about, what, 12, 13 years now.
Yeah.
And now what he's doing, and that's why I said we're both switching careers, he's starting his own consultancy. Uh,
Wow.
he believes that marketeers will largely become redundant because AI is obviously going to keep on becoming more and more powerful. So
Yeah.
he wants to learn AI and he wants to uh, educate,
Uh-huh.
teach, empower uh, CEOs, business owners, marketeers,
Mm-hmm.
to leverage the tech instead of becoming redundant because of it,
Right.
leverage it and kind of make your work 3x, 5x, 10x better.
Yeah.
So he's currently working on that piece.
Uh-huh.
My daughter Anjali is 7.
Uh,
she is probably she surprises me every day with the kind of depth
Yeah,
she has, the kind of perceptiveness that she has. So I
right.
genuinely believe she's an old soul in a very young body. And we talk about everything. So the first time she heard the F word, and
Yeah.
then now it happens in grade one, apparently. I mean,
Yes.
she came home and she told me, my friend said this is a bad word, and why is it a bad word, and how can a word be good or bad?
Yeah.
Those kind of things. So we talk about everything,
Yeah.
and it really amazes me the kind of conversation she's able to hold,
Yeah.
or the kind of thought she's able to hold at 7. It's baffling. My father-in-law was a lawyer, and I mean, he worked all the way till COVID. I
Yeah.
really believe COVID has, shaved multiple years off his life, because it led to that classical problem of isolation,
Yeah.
no work, or not being
Yeah.
allowed or able to go into court, and obviously he couldn't catch up with the online practices that happened
That's
during
right.
COVID. So he basically kind of got left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when he hadn't planned to get left behind, and then obviously had to move in with us because it wasn't safe for him to live alone in a different city during
Yeah.
COVID. So I think the first couple of years were hard for him to adjust, but he's with us now for a long time, and he's doing well. He's made his friends, and he has his little social life, and he's of course battling cancer at the moment, but
Yeah.
you know he takes it very he takes it in a stride.
Yeah. Tell us a little more about Prasad, Runam. You know, what's most interesting for me to know is to know the origin story or the story of the genesis of the long-term love stories. You know,
Oh wow.
your story pans a lot, many years.
Oh
16
man.
years?
We've been married 12 years. We were dating for maybe four, yeah,
Yeah,
more than
that
four
makes
years
it
before
16.
that. So
I've got my
16
math
years.
right.
And we were friends for, maybe 3 years before that as well.
Wow.
So it's actually very classic. We met through a common friend. We were friends for a very long time.
Uh-huh.
I was dating someone else. He went out of town. All of that happened, and I think at some stage he before me realized that that there's more to this relationship. I remember this one time we were dating, and in his head that meant that we are going to get married. And I
Yeah.
remember saying to him that you date in order to decide if you want to get married.
Yeah.
Dating does not equal
Yeah.
commitment. And he was really shocked and taken aback, and when he heard that. But I still remember this dinner that we had when we were maybe 24 or 25 or something, and we sat across the table and we said, we're very different people, and we come
Yeah.
from very different cultural backgrounds. And in India, that's important. He's
Yeah.
a Maharashtrian from a non-veg eating family. I was brought up Jain.
Yeah.
I'd not eaten onion and garlic my whole life. So very, very different backgrounds. So we sat across the table and we said, what are our non-negotiables?
Yeah.
Right? So, things are very small things, right? Like I said, I will not live in a house. I will live in an apartment because I
Uh-huh.
don't want to spend my time maintaining a house. Very simple,
Yeah.
nothing else to it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I am very, very, very protective of my time. I'm very focused on what I want to spend my time on
Yeah.
and what I don't want to spend my time on. Then the fact that I believe in Jainism. I'm not just born Jain. I really believe in it. So I will continue to be Jain.
Practice. Yeah.
I will continue to practice my religion. I will bring up my child vegetarian. The child can
Yeah.
decide what they want to do when they grow up,
Yeah.
but as an upbringing, the
Yeah.
child will be brought up vegetarian, because it's something I believe in personally,
Yeah.
very strongly. And he had his kind of non-negotiables. Like he
Yeah.
wanted a wife who was working.
Yeah.
He said this to me, and back then it sounded so you know different. He said, "I'm not getting married in order to have a cook and a maid. I can hire."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? and
Which is
and
so refreshing to hear someone
so
say.
refreshing. And this was 16 years ago or 15
Yeah.
years ago. This wasn't
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
right? And those were the things, those were the reasons that drove me to reach a point where I was ready to kind of commit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said you defined your non-negotiables quite early on. I think that's what I read a post that you posted on LinkedIn when Anjali was born, or maybe some years after that, about your non-negotiables. You decided that you had your non-negotiables, and that's why you could continue working
Yeah.
as you did. So
Yeah.
could you shed some light on that?
So now that you say this, I'm realizing this is probably my approach to life. So when I was having that kid, when I realized I was pregnant, one of the first few people I spoke to again was the CEO of Portia, Meena Ganesh,
Yeah.
who was my mentor. Right? I went and I told her I'm pregnant. I was maybe 6 weeks pregnant or something, and she said, right, that um, you can't plan on how to come back to work after you have the baby
Yeah.
because it's too late. You've
Yeah.
got to get this plan in place now,
Yeah.
number one. And number two, she said, you decide what's important to you, whatever it is, and let everything else go to hell,
Yeah.
especially for the first few years. And I think that's the best advice I've ever received because that's what I did. I said, continuing to work is important to me. And of course, spending time, but what does spending time with your child mean? It's so
Yeah.
generic. So I kind of went deeper into it. When in the early years, of course, I was just talking about the first year or so at that point, I said, to me, it is important to breastfeed,
Yeah.
right? So I planned everything around it. I moved close to office. I was 5 minutes walking distance in Bangalore.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was 400 meters. I mean, I was paying 1.5x the rent,
Yeah.
but I was 5 minutes walking distance. So I kid you not, Neha, my routine looked like this. I'd wake up at whatever, 5:36 a.m. I'd massage my baby.
Yeah.
I'd bathe my baby. I'd breastfeed my baby. Then of course I'd get ready. The nanny would come in by like 8:30 or whatever, give her the baby and leave. I would come home. So 1 to 2 was blocked off my calendar for a year and a half.
Wow.
I would come home for lunch between 1 and 2. And because I could walk to work, this was
Yeah.
possible, right? And the reason I was coming home was, of course, to see the child, but mainly to breastfeed. I'd do
Yeah.
an afternoon feed,
Yeah.
then I'd go back to work. And again, my leaving office, physically leaving work time was carved in stone, which was 5:30.
Yeah.
So I'm home at 6 and I do my evening breastfeed. I
Yeah.
breastfed my child till her second birthday.
Wow.
And I planned my whole calendar, my whole life around it because to me, I said, if I commit to breastfeeding for
Yeah.
2 years,
Yeah.
uh, then I'm going to carve out this time,
Yeah.
for it. And that
Yeah.
was a non-negotiable. I don't think I missed a single. My child has never, had milk out of a bottle. And this is not me advocating for breastfeeding. I'm
Breastfeeding.
just
Yeah.
saying your non-negotiable has to be very specific for it to
Yeah.
work.
You can't
A
just hope
generic.
for it to work.
Yes, yes. Like
Yeah.
massaging and bathing my child till she turned, I think, 15 months or something, is something I did. I did religiously every morning,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I had a nanny and she could have done it, but this was me, doing the skin to skin, the
Yeah.
touch, the,
Yeah.
the time
Yeah.
being
The
used
bonding.
meaningfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not just task oriented, but, fun for both of us to kind of
Yeah.
have that,
Yeah.
that time. And what I do with my child has obviously evolved now over the
Yeah.
last 7 years of her life.
Yeah.
But whatever it is that is non-negotiable is non-negotiable. Like for me now, my job is across town. I
Yeah.
travel an hour and a half one way.
Yeah.
So now the pre-bedtime is
Yeah.
the non-negotiable. So I leave my workplace at 5.
Yeah.
Day 2 of my job, I told my founder, I leave at 5.
Yeah.
I'm happy to, work weekends, log back on in the night, come early. I'm happy to do everything. But I want to see my daughter for 30 minutes before she sleeps because that's when she talks about her day.
Yeah.
And that 30 minutes lets me know if something's wrong and, I need to do something more or
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
So now that's my non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And the second thing, Neha, that I find important is you can't have these non-negotiables in your own head.
Right.
You then have to rally support. So
Yeah.
my partner has to be in alignment, my staff has to be in alignment, my office has to be in alignment,
Yeah.
right? And people, I've been gaslit, like
Yeah.
especially at the breastfeeding time. I had this male colleague uh, who, I don't know whether he didn't know that the managers know, I don't know what his agenda was, but he kind of wanted to make it a point to show that I'm not available. So
Uh-huh.
he sent one meeting invite, then he sent the second meeting invite, and everything's happening at 1:30 for
Yeah.
some reason. And the third time this happened, I responded with, I think the whole company marked, saying, clearly I'm not required at this meeting. 1 to 2 p.m. is the time when I go and breastfeed Anjali. Using those words, no euphemisms, no saying nursing my
Yeah.
child, nothing. I said, I go and breastfeed my child between 1 and 2 every day.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this. If you're still calling for a meeting at 1 o'clock, it means I'm not required and therefore I'm declining.
Yeah.
That was it, Neha.
Yeah. Sometimes we need to call it out as it is.
No, and I said it in front of the company. I'm not
Yeah.
ashamed of the fact that I breastfeed my child. I'm
Yeah.
extremely proud of it.
Yeah.
My CEO knows, my COO knows. I am still performing. I'm showing up
Yeah.
on Saturdays to make
Yeah.
up, for the fact that they're giving me all this flexibility. And if you, as a solo person, you think you're going to bring me down by
Yeah.
not having me part of key decisions, you know, I'm not going to take that. So
Yeah.
I just had to do it once.
Yeah.
It never happened again.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds wonderful. I think you said it very importantly that, it can't be in your head.
Yeah,
People around you need to know what are your non-negotiables, and they are your non-negotiables. You can't just say that I want to do this.
yeah,
I want to do this because this is my non-negotiable. I think
yeah.
this is very, very important. Now, I want you to rewind a little bit, Runam, and take us back to the time when you had Anjali, or maybe even before that. Was there a moment when you decided, and it's a little personal, you tell us if you are not comfortable talking about it, when you decided to embark on this journey called parenting, and you said that, okay, we are ready now to become parents?
I mean, no, I don't think, I mean, I don't know, maybe some people are. I don't think I would have been ever been ready. I was
Right.
one of those people who didn't feel strongly about becoming a parent.
Uh-huh.
I mean, honestly, if for whatever medical reason I was not able to become a parent, I think I would have been very okay with
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't think,
Yeah.
because you don't know what you don't know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so I don't think I felt very deeply. My husband was knew that he wanted a child. I was ambiguous. I said, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, fine. Uh, so for me, there was never a moment in time when I said, I'm going to go have a kid now.
Yeah.
That 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 did not happen.
And what was it like when she arrived? What was that experience like for you? Was it something that you expected and it came true? Like, how you planned for, okay, when I become a mother, this will happen. When my child arrives, this will happen. Or were there a lot of surprises along the way?
So my mom said to me when she found out that I was pregnant that life changes a lot when you have a kid.
Yeah.
And I agreed with her, but I have no idea what she meant until I actually had a child.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anything can prepare you
Yeah.
for being a parent. Doesn't matter how many books you read, and I'm a reader, and
Yeah.
doesn't matter how many people you talk to, uh, because the real life impact on your life, on your day to day,
Yeah.
I mean, forget everything else, Neha, on the way you think,
Yeah.
right? And how much of your mind space is occupied by this another person.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in the world that can prepare you for having a child. And I am a planner, so I planned all the logistics around,
Yeah.
who's going to take care of her and how am I going to build trust and, what happens at what time and, who's going to cook and all of that. Yes, I planned for, but I don't think I planned for how much thinking about motherhood or parenthood or my child would consume me emotionally and intellectually.
Yeah.
And then, of course, COVID has happened. A lot of stuff has happened, which has challenged us as human
Yeah.
beings first, and
Yeah.
then as parents as well. So I'll give you an example, and nothing can prepare you for this, right? My daughter was about 2.5 when
Mm-hmm.
COVID happened, right? So between 2.5 and 4, it was all about not meeting anybody, not touching anybody,
Yeah.
wearing a mask, sanitize your hand. So when she goes to school at 4, she re-goes,
Yeah.
returns to school because she started at 18 months, then didn't go. And then she goes back to school at 4. She doesn't want the teachers to touch her.
Uh-huh.
And if they pat her on the shoulder, it makes her
Oh my God.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And this is not good touch, bad touch. It's just
Yeah.
human touch.
Yeah.
So now I have to work with this child who I have said for 1.5 years, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. And now I have to teach her that
It's okay.
it's okay. These are harmless touches and you're not going to get COVID and you're not going to die.
Yeah.
Right. And that is something that I wouldn't have imagined.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Right.
it's just one of the things that you had to do.
It's one of the things, right? I mean, this child was on a slide at 10 months. I'm one of those parents who kind of constantly pushes her to do stuff,
Yeah.
right? So she
Yeah.
was on her first slide at 10 months.
Yeah.
But when she goes to a park at 4, she's afraid of the slide
Yeah.
because she's forgotten it.
Yeah.
So I've taught her how to slide at 10 months, and now I'm to reteach it to her at 4 years.
Yeah.
Except at 4 years, the people around you don't think it's cute.
Yeah.
Right? They're
Yeah.
like, Why does your 4-year-old not know how to go down a slide,
Yeah.
right? Or a swing or whatever. I'm just saying that.
What? Yeah.
And these were challenges that got thrown at all of us. I
Yeah.
wasn't the only one facing these. But all I'm saying is that you can't prepare to have another human being wholly dependent on you for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't know what's to come.
And
So
you
how
don't
do
know
you
what's to come.
prepare?
How do you prepare?
Yeah. And you've also mentioned, Runam, that the first few years of parenting were really challenging for you. Could you tell us how was it juggling demanding careers and no family support, not in terms of emotions, but in terms of they being physically
So I
there?
didn't actually have family support because my parents have their own life. They live in a different city. My father-in-law, when he came to live with us, Anjali was 2.5. This was COVID,
Yeah.
and he was suffering from a manic depressive disorder.
Oh,
So he was a psychiatric, like a mental health patient. So he was a dependent, and in a very very taxing manner at that point. And my husband had a job that required, he's in real estate, right? Real estate marketer, that required him to be in office all the time. Like
wow.
there was nothing like work from home or work, and his office was across the city. So it was me and the nanny
Mm-hmm.
for Anjali, and I was in healthcare,
Yeah.
right? So I was working 18-hour days.
Wow.
There were days when I was working till 2 a.m. because we were doing this COVID home isolation program
Yes.
for state governments,
Yes.
7 state governments, and I was leading that project. So there were times when we work till 2, wake up at 5. There were times when someone was covering for me till 2, but then I was up at 5 every single morning for 1.5 years because I
Wow.
wanted to get some work done before Anjali woke up. There
Yeah.
have been times when I'm on a call and Anjali's asleep on my lap.
Wow.
So our circumstances were such that uh, yeah, I had 18-hour work days. I had a 2.5-year-old baby. I was lucky that my housing society, when I wrote to them and said, I'm in healthcare, I have a young child, and I cannot cope without help, they allowed me to bring in a nanny. But
Mm-hmm.
what I had to do for that was I had to go pick her up from her home
Wow.
so that she's not coming in touch with anybody else.
Yeah.
So I was doing a 8 a.m. pickup for my nanny. So waking up at 5, working till 7, 7 to 8 with Anjali, then, Anjali with Prasad for half an hour. Because I had a medical card. So I
Yeah.
could be the only one driving on the road. It couldn't be my husband.
Yeah.
So I'd go with my medical ID, go pick her up from her house, bring her back. Then she's there. So,
Yeah.
then we're covered for the day. But then at 6:30, as soon as Prasad gets in, I have to go again drop her to her house,
Thank God.
come back. 7 p.m. was my debrief with with the Karnataka government every single night.
Wow.
Saturday, Sunday, Friday, doesn't matter. Every single night they wanted one rep
Yes.
to do a debrief. So every single night at 7 p.m., I have a call.
Yeah.
That's my daughter's bedtime.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
she's
God.
on my lap. There's a laptop in front of me. Sometimes they're in a nice mood. Sometimes they're yelling at us, and my child is trying to sleep. So yeah, I don't think I could do it again. Honestly, I don't think I would because that time took a huge toll on my mental health. I remember this one weekend, I just broke down. I called my CEO and I said, I just can't do this anymore. It's been a year. It was a little less than a year, but it's just been a lot, and I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And she kind of at that point, I think, realized the massive load that I was carrying both at home. I mean, having a mental health patient, a parent who had to be out,
Yeah.
a young child, and then like these massive government projects on my back. So she was obviously very understanding, and then she worked with me on a plan to offload some of the things and all of that. But in retrospective, perhaps I rode myself too hard.
Yeah. Yeah. But how did you cope with it, Runam? What was it that sailed you through? Because it just sounds just taxing, very, very taxing.
It was very taxing. Like I said, I think my mental health took a toll. I wouldn't say that I sailed through it with flying colors. That would be a lie.
Yeah.
I did used to maybe take half an hour, 40 minutes early in the morning uh, to do yoga.
Mm-hmm.
On some days, when that worked out. On other days, see, the only good thing I think was that I was working from home. So
Right.
I could be in my track pants.
Yeah.
Meant whenever I had a 20-minute break,
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, I would go and do something physical,
Yeah.
whether it was yoga or weights or whatever. But I think that, or a walk.
Yeah.
I think that was my only little bit of a rope, if I may say.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think I it wouldn't be right to say I sailed through this. No.
Mm.
It was really hard. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Hopefully, COVID never happens again. But even under the different circumstances, I think no, don't do it.
Yeah. But what was it after that? What was it like after that when you realized that you can't carry on like this? Was it was it a gradual shift from there, or was it just like snapping out of it and like, okay, I can't do this anymore?
No, so that I mean, I did not snap out of it, and the snap was the realization
Yeah.
that I can't do this anymore. The shift was gradual because, like I said, I called up my CEO. I had this whole breakdown, and she was extremely patient and understanding, and you know, uh, she immediately got to work with me on saying who can pick up what piece. But
Yeah.
of course, transition kind of takes time. Honestly, I think I left Portia. I mean, this was 6 months later, but I left Portia because I needed that break.
Yeah.
I was very happy in that organization, and I would have never left
Yeah.
under normal circumstances. I would have still been there today. Uh, but when another opportunity came by in the past, I'd always just said no. I'm
Yeah.
happy where I am, and I don't need them. I'm not looking for like an extra bit of money or whatever. But after this happened, after this
Yeah.
burnout happened, the next opportunity that came by, I don't think I even paused to think about whether it's a good move, whether I'm a good fit.
Yeah.
In my head, I just needed to
Switch.
leave behind
Yeah.
Portia, and therefore, whatever came next, it was like a rebound relationship almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just took the first thing that came, and in retrospect, I took it because I mean, I could have taken a 6 month sabbatical and been happy as well.
Yeah, yeah. And as we are as normal middle class Indians, we are so used to this um just just juggling everything and just learning from it and all of that. So I would then push that thought further and say, would was there something that you realized that in your character, or maybe the strength of your character, or this is something that you can do, or a part of your personality that you never thought existed? Was there some realization which was sort of epiphanic for you from that incident?
I mean, two things honestly. One is not just me. I think a lot of people. I think we realize that we are more resilient than we think we are,
Yeah.
just as a rule, right? And I think second thing what I realized was that I seem to have this ability to rally support
Mm-hmm.
or rally people to a cause or so-called lead. And surprisingly, it often happens when I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
right? And that I think first came to me when these government projects started,
Yeah.
and multiple governments said that if they want a single point of contact, they'd want me to be the one doing it, while there were more qualified, more senior, more capable people around. And I think that just has to do honestly with clarity of thought and
Mm.
communication,
Yeah.
which are skills that anyone can learn. And yeah, I think these are realizations that happened while I was working through these things.
Yeah. And you've also mentioned to me, Runam, that therapy and introspection
Yes.
as tools that helped you, sail through that time, so to say. I'll use the
Absolutely.
again.
No, so I didn't mention it earlier because the therapy actually happened after. So
Uh-huh.
when Anjali rejoined school is when I realized the toll COVID had taken on her. I
Yeah.
knew the toll COVID had taken on me,
Yeah.
right? But the child is at home, the child is playing with the toys, playing with the adults. You don't realize what it means for a 2.5 to 4 year old mind to not interact with anyone outside of the immediate family,
Right.
right? You don't think about it. You're not psychologists. And, she's developing fine. She's a happy, well adjusted, eating everything, not doing screen time. Basically a good child studying, knows how addition, knows her subtraction, knows her reading. Anjali was reading at 2.5.
Yeah.
So, you think everything's fine. And then when she goes back into society and back into school and back into, well, the world, you realize that a lot of developmental stuff just did not get done for these kids, and not just my kid, right? Multiple kids.
Yeah.
So I mean that makes it worse because there's no real normal kind of benchmark also in that class.
Right. Right.
So that was one part of it. So she had her problems. And then I had started having anger issues
Mm-hmm.
because of the burnout that I was in. And this I was I'm a very self aware person. So I knew that there's a problem. And then the third thing that happened was my husband lost his sister.
Oh,
She was
I'm
only
sorry.
45 at the time, to a cancer that we didn't know was there. So she got detected with cancer, and a month later, she was dead. So that was obviously very traumatic for all of us, including my child who kind of knew her, obviously, her
Yeah.
aunt and all of that. So all of these three things kind of happened at the same time. And I realized that my daughter was grappling with not only the emotional aspect of COVID, but now also with sudden death. She's scared her mother will die. She'd
Yeah.
come sometimes if I'm mad or if I'm sad, and she'd come and she'd be like, Mama, please don't die.
Oh my God.
Instead of saying please don't cry,
Yeah.
she'd say please don't die. So when that happened a couple of times, um, I realized that now I need professional help. So
Yeah.
I found a child therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously therapy for a 4-year-old is not about the child, it's mainly about the parent. So
Yeah.
I did those 10, 12 number of sessions with her, uh, to help my child cope with death, help my child cope with anger. And helping my child cope with her anger is basically me coping with my anger,
Yeah.
right? So that means I have to understand what my triggers are, and
Yeah.
then also help Anjali understand what her triggers are, right? And
Right.
then we work kind of together. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just now you're forcing me to kind of think back, and I'm remembering when she was 4 and 5, and the strategies that we tried, and some things that. So I'll give you a very small example, right?
Yeah.
I'd be working from home at the time, and when I sit down for lunch, I like my lunch to be quiet. I do
Yeah.
breakfast with family, I do dinner with family, but lunch is in the middle of a working day.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm processing for the next half of the day.
Right.
But Anjali would think that this is time for her to come and like basically ask me questions and stuff, and I would get very, very annoyed. So
Yeah.
inevitably, we were having this unpleasant interaction
Yeah.
in and around lunchtime. And when I realized that this is triggering me, and this is the maturity of my 4-year-old, right? And I went and I told her that, so we had this concept of me time. So when you
Yeah.
want alone time, and we still have it, she says, I'm doing me time means just leave me alone, I'll play with myself. So I told her that lunchtime is mama's me time.
Hmm.
Okay. And mama doesn't love it when you come and talk to her or you ask
Hmm.
her for things. Just 10 minutes. I promise you, I won't take more than 10 minutes, but those 10 minutes do not talk to me.
Hmm.
Uh, and she's respected her ever since.
Wow. A 4-year-old child
Yeah.
understanding.
And it just took that one conversation. I
Yeah.
mean, I had to obviously frame it in a context that she understood,
Yeah.
but she got it, and she said, "Okay, so can I ask you after?" I said, "Yeah, as soon as I'm done with lunch, I'll come, to your room,
Yeah.
and then we can spend some time together." And that's it. So she'd be like, "Mama, are you having lunch?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Okay, I'll be in my room," and she'd go away, and she'd be in her room, and I'd finish my lunch, and then I'd go to her room, and
Yeah.
that's it. Like she's never ever after that tried to disturb my 10 minute of quiet lunch.
And Anjali, what's beautiful about this is what I'm realizing is when you hear about it, it doesn't sound complicated at all. It's so simple.
It
And I
is.
think we as parents sometimes forget that it's the simplest things which just need to be done or communicated, and we just think so much about it and don't do as much. And this is beautiful. This is so beautiful because it is so simple.
So simple. The complexity is in understanding your triggers,
Yeah.
or finding that problem.
Yeah.
Once you find the problem,
Yeah.
and I think this is true for business, this is true, I mean, this is just true for life, right?
Yeah.
That one the difficulty is always in identifying the problem, or I mean, we are medical people, we say diagnosis is half the treatment.
Yeah.
If you've got your diagnosis right, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be able to treat or help or facilitate whatever has to happen next. The complexity is in the diagnosis.
Yeah.
The solution is never really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. How beautiful. Okay, let's get a little philosophical here. Do you think there's something about motherhood or parenthood in general that fundamentally changes you as a person, or do you think that it simply adds new layers to who you already were?
I think, I mean, I don't know if I have a clear cut answer to that. It definitely changes you, or it should change you. I mean, if it doesn't change you, then you're probably not really parenting.
Hmm.
Because parenting is probably the most challenging thing uh, that at least I have ever encountered,
Yeah.
right? Uh, and you're faced with failure, judgment, from
Yeah.
yourself, from others, from the child, just on such frequent basis. I
Yeah.
mean, your appraisal happens once in a year, but
Yeah.
when as a parent you're being appraised, probably 5 times a day. So I mean, yeah, if parenting hasn't changed you, I would wonder if you've even parented.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about change, talking about, realizing what's this new role that you've taken on. I want to understand your perspective on balance, Runam. We say that, work-life balance or just balance between parenthood and between career and between your personal life. What's your take on it? You're managing a high stakes role, and you're also, I think, from what I know, from what I can see, you're fully present as a mom. So, how do you navigate that tension between the two worlds of career and motherhood?
Um, I mean, I think it's only about priorities, and at
Yeah.
different times, different things are a priority,
Hmm.
right? So, and my child knows this. My child knows that when she really needs me, like if she's sick, I've canceled a trip when she was really sick, a work trip.
Hmm.
I'm going to be there no matter what. She knows I'm going to be there at bedtime no matter what. She knows, on weekends, I'm going to play games with her for like 6 hours straight, if that's what
Yeah.
she wants. I'm going to feed her. I'm going
Yeah.
to go out with her. So she knows that. But she also knows that work is important,
Yeah.
not just because it gives me money, but it's because it's something I want to do, I enjoy
Right.
doing. So she knows I'm going to show up for work. But she also knows that she'll be covered no matter what. So
Yeah.
currently, because Prasad is working on his consultancy, he's the more hands-on parent than I am. He's
Right.
the one doing the homework. He's the one who's getting her ready in the morning. So I'm doing more of the talking and the reading and the fun stuff, and he's doing more of the hands-on parenting.
Yeah.
Till 2 months ago, it was the other way around. Her whole life, I've been the hands-on parent,
Yeah.
whereas because his job was far away and more demanding and all of that, and he was the one who would do the weekends and the fun and the
Yeah.
touch base kind of a parenting role. So she knows she's going to get covered, and that's the reason you have two parents.
Right.
So we will, change hats when we need to, but you're never going to be left without a net.
Yeah.
So I don't tell her, or I don't believe myself also that the onus is all on me,
Right.
right? It's us as a team, as parents, we have to make sure that the child is taken care of, and
Yeah.
that sometimes means you do some things and I do different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that she knows, and therefore she's very secure in her mind that she won't be kind of left without someone to lean on. uh, so that's that. But on the work side, I think I am very clear about my priorities on the home front. Like I tell them when I'm going to be there, when I'm not going to be there, what's the
Yeah.
flexibility I need, what I'm willing to do because I'm asking for this flexibility, whether it's reduced hours, reduced pay, working on weekends, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Right. So I find a way to be very transparent on day one.
Yeah.
I hate this dissonance to come up 6 months later, 2 years later into a
Yeah.
workplace. So on day one, I say, this is what I can do. This is what how I'd like to be flexible. This is how I need to show up for my child or my family or my parent. And, I get that buy-in
Yeah.
before I start. So at least from my end, the expectations have been set very clearly for the home front and for the work front. And I genuinely believe that if people believe you're committed and well intentioned, friction is very, very low. The
Yeah.
problem happens when you try to be cheeky or you try to slip things past, or
Yeah.
you're not transparent about it. Or I
Yeah.
think when you try to be sly
Yeah.
at the workplace is where I believe the distrust and then the
Yeah.
micromanagement and then the questioning happens. It's literally never happened to me
Yeah. Yeah.
ever.
I think it's also a matter of, the persons who come before you. I think sometimes you just get the brunt of someone.
Baggage.
Yeah. And also, yeah. So that's the thing. If someone else has done it before you, so you find it a little difficult to earn that trust. But I'm just so glad to hear this from you because you are not only doing it for yourself, but also for the people who come behind you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I walk the talk, and that honestly gives other people the freedom to walk the talk. I have
Right.
someone on my team right now who had to, go help his father with a surgery. And and it's very okay to say I'm not available for the next two
Right.
days, or this is what I
Right.
can do, or these
Yeah.
are four things I will get done, but nothing else is going to happen,
Yeah.
because I say it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, my team knows where I am, what I'm doing. For example, I have the school meeting. They'll know that 11 to 12, I have this other meeting. I'm not available, but I'm available before, I'm available after,
Right.
right? And if that changes, they will know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, honestly, I like to feel that I'm setting the tone for the culture wherever I
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And even though there is baggage and even if there is mistrust, I believe it can be broken through. And one of the things that helps Neha is just being there for a long time. I was in my
Yeah.
first organization for 7 years. I was in my second organization for 3.5 years. My third, this is just my third job. I'm 40.
Yeah.
And I'm committed to being here for the long term as well.
Yeah.
So I think when people look at you as a long term person, then they're not thinking about that 1 hour or the
Yeah.
2 hours that you're not
Yeah.
available for.
Yeah.
Anyone with half a brain will
Yeah.
function like this. And if they don't have the ability to look at you as a long term player, then that's not the right home for me.
Right. That's true. That's true. And also because you talked about schedules and planning and setting your time. So I'm very interested to know, Runam, is there a typical day that you have from the moment you wake up and from to the
Yeah,
time
yeah,
you
yeah.
go to sleep? What's
I
your
have a routine. I'm very committed to my routine. I wake up at 6:30. We get Anjali out the door. 7:25, I'm at the gym.
wow?
8:20, I'm out of the gym because 8:30, I'm at the breakfast table. Quarter to 9, I'm out the house because now my workplace is really far away. So
Yeah.
I have to leave and I'm in Bangalore. So between 10 and 10:15 is when I hit the office. From that time till 5, I'm in office.
Yeah.
I don't take any, large breaks. I do my 10-minute lunch. I do a 10-minute coffee, which is usually done with a team member. So I'm having
A one-on-one kind of
not
a
a yeah, but not a work conversation, the
yeah.
the
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
conversation. So each day I'm probably talking to a different team member because it's a new team.
Yeah.
So I feel like you need to know the personal aspect of every person as well. So that's what my coffee break or walk would look like. Uh, the aim is to leave office by 5. That sometimes becomes 6, but 9 days out of 10, I'm out at 5, doing calls, home at 6:30, 7 actually. 7 to 8 is daughter time.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Dinner
Wow.
with
Cut,
her.
cut, cut,
Yeah,
cut.
yeah, 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 yeah. Dinner with her, talking with her, getting her into bed. 8:15, she's in bed. 8:15 onwards is the unstructured time. I may spend time with my husband. I may get my work done. I may have calls. So 8:15
Yeah.
to 10 is kind of open to get stuff done that didn't get done in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the day.
And I'm sure you've had one of those days where something doesn't go to plan, or
Oh, all the time.
so
All the
how
time. I mean, that happens. Of course, that happens. I
how
work
do
in
you
a
deal with
startup.
that?
Um, I taught my daughter when she was 5.5 to say, shit happens. So I say shit happens and I move on. What else are you going to do? But I will tell you this story, Neha. So day 2 in Primus, right?
Yeah.
And I got home at 8:30. And my daughter
Mhm.
sleeps at 8, but she's waiting because
Yeah.
new job, she's not used to me being away so long and all of that. I walk in at 8:30. I walk into her room and I'm like, okay, let's get into bed. I'm sorry, I'm late. And she says, Mama, if this is going to be a routine, it's not going to work for me. So I said, yeah, it's not going to work for me either. So
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to Adarsh tomorrow. Adarsh
Yeah.
is the founder where I work. And so the next day I asked for 10 minutes and I sat down and I said, this is what my daughter said to me. And I agree with her. Uh, it's,
Yeah.
it's just that the office is really far away,
Yeah.
right? So I have to leave at 5. And it was day 2. So this is day 3 we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, if this doesn't work for you, we can pretend this never happened.
Yeah.
I'm happy to exit on day 3. I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. But on most days, I will leave at 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now what will I do? What I will do is I will hire a driver.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will spend that extra 25,000 per month. I will hire a driver because now I'm using the 1.5 hours in the morning and 1.5 hours in the evening more productively. So it's
Right.
not really cutting into the work time
Right.
or into the home time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just physically. Mm,
I'm just physically not in office, but I'm very much available to
yeah.
do anything that does not require me to be typing on a laptop, which
Yeah.
is honestly 80% of my work,
Right. Right.
right? And it didn't take a second for the founder to say, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Find a driver that makes sense. It gives you the 3 extra hours, and you also get home on time. And I've done it. I think they've been after that. It's been 3 months. There've been maybe 2 or 3 nights that have been late,
Yeah.
which isn't bad. I
Which
mean,
is, yeah.
once in a couple of weeks, if you're late, I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
Uh, and I have also realized that if Anjali knows I'm going to be late, she's more okay with it.
Yeah.
So whenever I realize that today is not going to end at 5, I give
Yeah.
her a call or I drop her a voice note and I let her know that today mama's going to be late and whether to wait or not.
Yeah.
And yeah, it works.
Yeah. And now I want you to talk about your village, Runam. They say takes a village to raise a child, but you didn't have your family around you, which can be the literal village that you have. So, could you tell us a little bit about who your support system, who and what your support system looked like when you were raising Anjali, and now when you are raising Anjali? Um,
So I'll first talk about when she was really young, right? Like at
yeah.
5. I went back to work when she was 5 months old,
Uh-huh.
5.5 months old, right? So the minute put her first spoon of solid food in her mouth, I said, next Monday I'm at work.
Yeah.
So I had a nanny who
Mm-hmm.
was at my house from I think 8:30 to 7. So she was
Yeah.
my full day cover. The way we did it is when I decided to rejoin from maternity, Prasad took a sabbatical for 3 months.
Oh,
So
wow.
he stayed home for 3 months with the because the nanny was new.
Yeah.
We'd
Somebody.
hired one, but then she
Yeah.
went away. So, I mean, I'd hired someone at 4 months thinking I will build trust,
Yeah.
but she didn't pan out. So, the new person I hired 1 week before going to work.
Yeah.
Obviously, not comfortable. So, he took a sabbatical for 3 months. So, for 3 months, Prasad is the one building the trust, making
Yeah.
sure she's doing things the right way and she's not going to bake the child or, you hear really horror
Yeah.
stories. So,
Yeah.
he was the one doing that. Obviously, we had a camera and a nanny. So I've realized that you'd rather be 30% overstaffed than
Yeah.
be 10% understaffed.
Yeah.
So I had a cleaner, I had a cook
Yeah.
who'd come 2 times a day, do everything, and I had a nanny. And I had the same staff for from 5.5 months till she became 5.5 years. So for
Wow.
5 years, I had the same people coming in at the same time every single day.
Yeah.
So that honestly was my village. But emotional support came from a lot of my coworkers. My CEO, my then CEO, Meena Ganesh, was a huge support, huge sounding board because she was one of those people I could say anything to, right? I could say, I have a doctor's appointment for Anjali at 12, so I'm going to leave and come back.
Mm-hmm.
I could actually tell her that she's 18 months, I'm putting her in preschool, but this bloody school requires a parent to stand outside for 3 hours.
Oh,
So for a week, I have stood outside of school at 9, between 9 and 12, because the child is inside getting
yeah.
acclimatized, and you have to be outside in case your child cries.
Wow.
And I've just been there and I've done my calls from there. And, what are you going to do? And this is Indra Nagar, right? So the CEO's
Yeah.
crossing me and saying bye to me while she's on her way to work. So I don't have to hide shit, right? I don't
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
pretend I'm at a meeting or pretend I'm sick or
Yeah.
anything. I just have to be like this 5 days, this is what I'm going to do. So my child gets settled in school and then I'm going to
Yeah.
go back to normal.
Yeah. I think it
And
builds so much confidence in the system. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think having women CEOs, I mean, we all say it in paper and on in theory and all, but I have seen it in action. I have had a female CEO. I've seen the impact it made on me as a mother. I have been a female CEO who's hired a pregnant woman, given her the maternity when it was time, helped her come back to. So I've been both. I've
Yeah.
been the employee, I've been the CEO, and I think having women in leadership is the only way to make it work for other women. There is
Yeah.
absolutely no way that a man is going to be able to understand. the nuances of motherhood. Parenthood is not the same as motherhood. I'm sorry,
Yeah, yeah. Even
right?
fathers don't understand when you
No,
are
they
pregnant.
can't. They
Yeah,
can't.
yeah,
It's not their fault. I
yeah,
have,
yeah,
probably the most understanding man in the planet, but there
yeah,
are things that he cannot get.
yeah, yeah,
He's never been awake 5 times a night breastfeeding,
yeah, yeah,
right? You can't imagine that,
yeah.
right? So having women on the top is something that I am a huge believer in, just because I've gone through my own journey.
Yeah, yeah. And this is also very this is surprising that that this is something that you never learn unless you've been through it. We can pretend to be all empathetic and and
Yeah, yeah.
not just pretend. We can be empathetic and sympathetic, but when you become a parent, then that's when you realize, oh my God, this
This
is
is what it is.
this is what it is.
So I actually had someone, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was a colleague, obviously, who became a parent after I did.
Yeah,
Okay. And then she came to me, and she was one of those people who'd given me a hard time.
yeah,
She came to me 2, 3 years later when she'd had her journey, and she said, I didn't realize what it was like for you.
yeah.
And that was such validation, right? Because
Yeah.
you realize then that every woman who wants to work and have a family is really doing the best they can, and you
Yeah.
can help them better their best, you can give them strategy, you can do all of that. But yeah, I mean, you can only help them through it. You can't.
Live
Not
their
having gone
journey.
through the journey, you shouldn't be judging,
Yeah,
or trying to kind of
yeah,
tell them that they
yeah,
don't have their shit together.
yeah. And you're talking about work, I am reminded of my own journey when I became a mother. And when I became a mother, a friend of mine was pregnant. And then when she became a mother, exactly 9 months after I had given birth to my baby, she called me up and she said, Neha, I'm sorry. And I said, why are you sorry? And she said, I'm sorry I didn't understand what you were going through. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. And I'm like, no, it's not your fault. You don't know it unless you go through it.
Yeah.
It's that kind of a journey. But and I also realized what's a beautiful thing about motherhood is that there is that unsaid solidarity that you have with
Yes.
all the mothers
All
around.
other mothers.
Yeah, it's like our own little community or cult.
Yes, cult is the right way to say it.
Yeah. And now we are coming to an end of our episode. I have three or four questions left for you to answer. I want you to share. You've been kind of a perfect parent for me, Runam.
Oh,
I
that's so
think
sweet.
so break my bubble and tell us something that you have failed at, an epic parenting fail or an oops moment that you had with Anjali, and how did you handle it?
Oh my God, so many, so many, so many, so many. I don't know where to start. Like I said, I think I failed on daily basis, but I think one that I'm most ashamed of, and also which actually prompted a lot of change, was one of those, that time when I was burnt out, and
Yeah.
she was having emotional difficulties, and there'd been a death in the family, so all of us were grieving. And she did something. I don't remember what, right? She did something, and that just triggered me. And I hit her.
Yeah. Oh,
And I've been hit as a child. We've all been. All of us who
yeah.
grew up in 80s and
Yeah.
90s have been hit as children, right? And it was very okay to be hit at that time,
Yes.
right? I had never, before having a child, sat and thought about whether or not I would hit my child. It wasn't something that I was sitting and planning, right?
Right.
But that day when she angered me and I hit her, and I saw the hurt on her
Yeah.
face. And then that child came and hugged me for comfort.
Oh my God.
And that's what broke me, because I'm like, I am all she has. And if I can't get my shit together, why did I even bring her in the world? And that was the day I went and I found a therapist.
Mm.
That was the day I realized that my daughter's anger issues were stemming from my anger issues.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of introspection went into it. I had to rethink how, I mean, and That's when I realized that, my parents weren't abusive parents. It's not like they
Yeah.
beat me up every day,
Yeah.
but there must have been like some 5, 6 times in my life that I got hit. And I remember every one of those times,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, that's the impact. When my mom hit me at 7, I know what I was doing, what I did right, what I did wrong, and the reaction that came.
Yeah.
I don't remember so much stuff from being 6 or 7, but I remember being hit.
Yeah.
And for what? And when my daughter's 40, I don't want her to be able to sit down and count.
Yeah.
This was when my mom hit me. It's not the relationship I want. So I think massive changes started on that day. I made a promise to my child that I am never going to hit you again. I almost broke it once. I did raise my hand. And my child, being my child, says, Mom, when you raise your hand, that also breaks my trust.
Wow.
So now, after that, that stopped. But I mean, that was a massive, 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 massive parenting failure, massive human failure. And there's been many others. I've said stuff I shouldn't say. This is one time, she had a very bad fight with her cousin, completely her fault. And, I took her away. I took her in a room and I said, you don't deserve a sister.
Oh, wow.
And that was a terrible thing to say to a 6 year old, right? I mean, of course, she was in the wrong.
Yeah.
She was
But
completely at
yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
But that didn't make me right. And I apologized to her later. But so I think I've got lots of things wrong. But I think what I get right, Neha, is I go back to my child and I say, this was wrong of me. This is
Yeah.
not the way you treat somebody. This
Yeah.
is not the way I want to treat you in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and correct,
Yes. Make it right.
right? So I always make it a point to go back and repair the relationship. I also try and teach her that you have to be able to see in action.
Yeah.
You can't be in a relationship when someone keeps on abusing you and then
Yeah.
saying they will change but makes no effort to change,
Right.
right? Because I don't want to set her up for that kind of a relationship. So
Yes.
when I make a mistake and I think about it and I accept it, that means that mistake should not happen again,
Again.
ideally, ever, or at least repeatedly.
Yeah.
And, you can hold me accountable
Yeah.
if I repeat something.
How beautiful.
So it's hard. It's hard to do that with a 7-year-old because they really do hold you accountable.
Well,
So,
yeah, they learn from the best.
yeah, yeah. So it's very hard, but what two things I'm going to say,
Yeah.
Neha, though you've not asked. One is I want a relationship with my child where she doesn't need me, but she wants me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm building. That's my North Star matrix as a parent. And the second thing, which I say to my child, my internal facing goal, if you will, is to say, my job is not to make you happy.
Yeah.
My job is to enable you
Yeah.
to be a good person.
Yeah.
If sometimes that means you're not going to be happy,
Yeah.
it's
It's
fine.
okay.
Yeah, if some days you're going to come and say you're the worst mama in the world, it'll hurt me, but I'll deal with it. But I'll never give in to something that's not right for you.
Right.
And I've said this to her at least 5 times. She's only 7.
Yeah.
So she knows my job. She knows what's my job. She knows what's my North Star metric.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I love how you say it. I love how you say it. North Star metric. And this is my job. It's so relatable and it's so reassuring because for me who lives in grids and numbers and Excel sheets and diaries and planners, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I respect you so much more now, Runam. I didn't know there
oh,
was
thank
space
you.
for more, but there's always space for more.
You're
But
very kind.
no, but I'm just saying the truth. It's really, really heartening to see. And you shared such a vulnerable moment with us, and with so much grace and so much graciousness, both. And I'm just so honored that you decided to do that with us. And this shows that there's been so much reflection in your journey, Runam. Now, can you tell us a little something that Anjali has taught you over the years that she made you think that there has been a lot of learning that has come to you by yourself? But is there something that it could be a fun one? It could be something that she told you that didn't existed for you before that.
Um, So I will narrate an incident. It's just hilarious. I don't
Yeah.
know if it teaches anything, but it's funny. So someone had come over, a relative, and they tried to ask her what you want in order to get her a gift, and she kind of hemmed and hawed and whatever, and then finally they said, okay, here's some money, and what would you like to buy with it? So then she said, I'll buy a book. Okay, now it was a lot of money, it was some 2,000 rupees. So I said, with this you can buy maybe 4 books. So I shown and all of that. And then I said, okay, let's go down, drop these people, and I'll take you to buy a book. Because I'm a parent who never says no to books. So we went down. And before I go down, she's put her money in her piggy bank. So when we got done with saying bye, I said, why did you put the money in the piggy bank? I thought we were going and buying a book. She said, yeah, Mama, I can buy a book, but you anyway buy me books. I thought I should save this money so that I can start my own company when I become big.
Oh my God.
So I think what I took away from that is that role modeling, and I think I
Yeah.
wrote about this on LinkedIn, is so much more important than we think.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of been hearing me talk about, company founder, investor, you need
Yeah.
money in order to start a company. I talked to her and she knows I'm looking for funding. She knows all
Yeah.
of that. So she's literally thought about what to do with that 2,000 rupees. And
Yeah.
it's just that everything you do and everything you say,
Yeah.
it's like planting a seed and something will blossom out
Yeah.
of it. And that's a double-edged sword because
Right.
it could go the right way and it can
Yeah.
equally go the wrong way. And I'll give you another example. We're in a car. I
Mm-hmm.
have my 18-year-old cousin with me, and I'm telling her, I've got so many nice Indian clothes, and for the next 10 years, none of you are going to get married, so I have nowhere to wear it, borrow, those kind of
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
And my daughter, who's at the back, chimes in, Mama, marriage is a choice. She may choose not to get married.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I this is fun. This is fun. And I'm sure you're having a lot of fun with her being older now and you've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
able to talk with her. And you said she's an old soul. So
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing this, right? I mean,
yeah,
which 7-year-old says marriage is a choice, Mama?
Runam's daughter. Who
So
else?
she blows my mind on a daily basis.
Yeah. And if you could sit across your pre-parent self, Runam, is there an advice or is there something that you wish you had known back then?
I wish I'd known how hard it is.
Yeah.
I really wish. I mean, I don't think, like I said, nothing can prepare you for the journey, but also I don't think people talk enough about how difficult parenting is. And which is why I feel a lot of people get into parenting situations even more unprepared
Yeah.
than some of us, right, for the
Yeah.
challenges. And which is why I agree to these podcasts and which is why I talk to people like you, because I think, we need to move beyond, oh, having kids is so cute,
Yeah.
which is what all the aunties will say, to
Yeah.
talking about the real parenting. I've done podcasts on breastfeeding, I've done a lot of these real conversations because I think parents who
Yeah.
are on the fence need
Yeah.
to at least know what they're getting into and be
Right.
prepared and not go into it thinking it's all,
Hunky
song and dance and
dory.
drama, very
Yeah.
Insta fam kind of it. It's not.
It's funny how little we talk about it because everybody seems to be doing it. Like, this is how our world progresses. This is how our population increases. You bring children into this world, but what it takes to bring children into this world, we talk so little of.
We don't talk about it. And also, I think it's because, look, at least I'm the kind of person, either don't do it or do it right. And I think
Yes.
more and more of us,
Yeah.
because we have fewer children, are of that mindset, right?
Yeah.
And doing it right. I mean, raising children and, slapping them around or, letting them eat whatever they find.
Yeah.
It's okay, people grow up. It's not
Yeah.
that they don't grow up.
Yeah.
But if you're the kind of parent who wants to do it right,
Yeah.
then you've added 4 layers of hardship to what is already hard enough,
Yeah.
right? And I
That's
think
true.
that is an important conversation to
Yeah.
have with the younger people. I mean,
Yeah. 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 I think in a way, yeah, I'm just retrospecting. I'm just introspecting. Maybe this is why it took me so many years to, bring a child into this world. I thought about it, and yeah, you said maybe you can never be ready. You don't know if ever someone was ready, but I felt I was ready to bring a child into this world. So
Yeah,
maybe
maybe
I'm
you were more thought through at that age than
I
I
was
was.
I was quite old. I got pregnant at 35.
Oh
So
wow, okay.
I got married at 30 and I
Yeah,
got pregnant at 35. So that was I think yeah, so
yeah,
that was just a matter of age.
yeah,
Yeah. Now for a final thought, Runam,
yeah. Tell me.
if you could leave our listeners with one piece of wisdom about balancing career, family, and personal growth, something that you believe in, what would that be?
I mean, I think it's very simple. You've got to have evolving priorities. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to have priorities, but you have to be okay with them evolving or changing as time changes, needs change, family changes, demands of the child or the career change. So I think at every few months you have to stop and you have to think about what's important for
Yeah.
me and what's right for my family at this point in time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, rally the support and then go into it.
Yeah, beautiful. I think I love it the way you put it, evolving priorities. That's what I'm going to take back from this conversation. Runam, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. You've given us a beautiful window into your journey, your resilience, and your incredible growth. And I know our listeners will resonate deeply with your authenticity. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you for having me.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on Parenthood. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to share it with a friend, subscribe to the podcast, and leave us a review. Your support means everything. And as always, remember, you're not alone on this parenting journey. Until next time, take care of yourself and hug those little ones a little tighter today.